Friday episode of the Just Baseball Show. Thank God we have baseball news to talk about. It feels like it's been a long time since we had baseball news. Tim Anderson, a one-year, $5 million deal with the Miami Marlins. Mitch Keller just got extended 5 years, $77 million. Gio Urshela got a nice little payday 1 year, 1.5 with the Tigers. We could talk about how he fills into a team that Peter is really excited for. Bad news out of Mets camp and the top 10 corner outfielders in Major League Baseball. We ranked 15. Tim Kelly kicked ass on an article. Go read it. It's in the episode description. Jack Peter, Just Baseball Show again today, Friday, February 23rd. We are on the heels of Dodgers Padres. Happy opening day of spring training to the majority of baseball fans. Professional baseball is back. If you have been with us for the last week or so, chances are you've been watching college baseball, but it kind of feels good to have Joe Musgrove and Gavin Stone matching up on TV, and we can watch it.
I put out a tweet, spring training, baseball is back. Yes. That's all I had.
Did you see the image? So I took a screenshot of your tweet, and then I texted you an image of Rob Lowe with a crudely pasted MLB logo on the hat and then an NCAA baseball logo right next to it.
It's just starting to feel real. And yes, I'm just rooting for baseball. I'm rooting for both teams to have fun. And, spring training is exactly what it sounds like. Spring training. There's plenty of videos coming out about this guy hit a home run off this guy or this guy struck out this guy. They're all getting reps. Doesn't mean as much as what the media on social media is trying to make it out to be. They're training in the springtime to get ready for Major League Baseball on opening day. And I'm very excited. I just like watching it.
Can I just give you the reason why people should not care one bit about what happens in these live ABs that you see on Twitter?
Go ahead.
Luis Ariz whiffed against who?
Sixto Sanchez.
Let's stop caring about live ABs, for the love of God. Luis Ariz is not whiffing against Sixto Sanchez on May 5th. He's not.
They're just working out shit, right? Everybody is. And it's just cool to see, right? But don't have big takeaways from these spring training ABs because we see it every single year. Some guys look great in spring training, and then you never hear from them again. Big stars struggling in spring, Jack. Then they start off April with 10 home runs. It just is for training.
How many times did Juan Soto punch out against Nestor Cortez? I think it was 3, and then it went down to 2. It might go up to 8 again, and then I saw him go yard in a later live AV.
It's just for narratives, right? Like everybody's like, "Oh, is Juan Soto ready yet?" Instead of like, "Look how good Nestor looks."
February 20th.
Like it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Ridiculous. Did you see his PlayStation controller, by the way?
No. But he does seem happy to be a Yankee, which makes me excited. Like Juan Soto is a New York Yankee. That's an awesome sentence from a Yankee fan.
He's got a Yankee branded, like a Soto individualized branded PlayStation controller or like Xbox controller, whatever it is. It's like decaled up with Yankee shit. So he's a Yankee for life because of his video game controller.
100%. But I am kind of nervous that Steve Cohen is going to offer him $600 billion in the offseason. Not million, billion with a B.
He probably will, and that's okay.
We'll see.
Because the Yankees can offer him 600 too if they wanted.
We actually have baseball news. You talked about it at the beginning. Let's talk about real baseball news.
We do. Tim Anderson is a Miami Marlin. I love this for TA. 1 year, $5 million to be the Marlins' primary shortstop. What does that mean for John Birdie, Xavier Edwards, Vidal Brujan? We don't know yet if they move one. Okay, get it? TA is the primary guy there. Some notes on TA, statistically. This guy by WRC Plus was the worst qualified hitter in baseball last year. This guy by isolated power was the weakest hitter in baseball last year, weaker than Miles Straw and Maikel Garcia. By WAR, he was bottom 5 among qualified players in baseball last year. He was probably the worst position player in baseball a year ago.
Avi Garcia,
sure, but like he didn't qualify. He was
true.
Like, he was that unavailable. TA was the worst available player in baseball last year. Having said that, and with an insane amount of bias, because he is my favorite active player in baseball, and he's going to Arum's favorite team, which is just crazy.
That's really tough.
If he's good,
yeah,
overall morale on this show is going to be sky high. if he stinks, overall morale on this show is going to be in the gutter. With so much bias attached to it, I love this deal for both sides.
I just found it interesting that the best deal he could have gotten was 1 year, $5 million from the Miami Marlins. Like that doesn't feel like other teams were very confident in his services on the wrong side of 30, right? You went over the stats of how bad he's been last year, but he also wasn't very good the year before. And we look at the batting average and we say, yeah, this guy's a 300 hitter. That's kind of it, right? You'll be lucky to see 10 home runs from Tim Anderson this year. In the last 2 seasons, Tim Anderson has 7 home runs, right? He seems to be a little far removed from even close to elite production. Now, could things change, right? Breath of fresh air, new scenery, big park. We've seen how good it is for contact-oriented hitters like Luis Arias. Could he refine something like that? And you said he was the worst available player, but Marcus Semien availability and Tim Anderson availability are two completely different things. We're looking at
Yes.
100. His high is 153 games. That was back in 2018. Since then, he has not played more than 123 games in a season. So he's
And
available, not that available, and it hasn't been good production.
and might I say he's played exactly 123 games 3 times in the last 5 years. So it might be like a Jordan obsession, Jordan, White Sox, whatever it is. He
Yeah.
might just like the number 23 and he's like, all right, at 123, I'm going to stop. We're good. Um, it is fascinating. But having said that, like from 2018 or from 2019, pardon, 2018 was not a great year. And I think that was the year that a lot of White Sox fans said, okay, what's the deal? And that's when Moncada still had some shortstop pedigree. It was like, are we actually looking at Tim Anderson as the shortstop moving forward? He kind of seemed like the odd man out, much like Trevor Story was supposed to be for Brendan Rodgers. It's, oh, we've got this top prospect coming up. Story's just a placeholder. Turns into way more than that. And 2019 was the year that he turned into way more than that. He hit 335. He was a 4.5 win player. 2020 in 49 games was a 2.5 win player. And then 2021 in 123 games was a 4.5 win player. When this guy was on the field through 2021, he was looking like a superstar. And Joe Buck said he should be the face of baseball because he's got the personality, he's got the aura. And dude, he was backing it up production wise. But you mentioned the step back in 22, the lack of availability. He was playing hurt. And then this past year was just a year from hell. Let's hope that the 2 year stretch is behind him. But there was enough to be okay with in 2022 to think that, like, instead of a 2 year stretch of shit, it was a year of okay and then a year of shit. And that makes me feel a little bit better if I'm Bruce Sherman, if I'm Peter Bendix, saying, okay, even if we get 2022, we're all right with our shortstop being a 2 win player if it looks like 300 and it looks like a 16% K rate. And like, it's, decent, okay, on base skills, but like 15 bags or so. Like last year was just horrible for him.
But don't you view that as best case scenario, right? The market is the market. Austin Hedges makes $1 million less this season.
No, best case scenario, and he got paid like a backup shortstop. Let's get that abundantly clear. He got paid like a backup to start games. He went to Miami for the opportunity. I guarantee you there was another contending team that was willing to pay him $4.5–5 million to be a short end of the platoon shortstop.
Was there?
I bet there was.
There could be.
Apparently, what was it? The Angels and the Giants were two teams that were in on TA all offseason.
Okay, but the Giants don't have a shortstop. So if he went to San Francisco, they have Zach Neto.
The Angels. Yes, good point.
The Giants have maybe Luciano coming up.
Maybe.
Right? So it's like, I bet the Giants offered him like 4.5 to be the starting shortstop, and he was like, fine, I'll just take the most money. I think the market is the market, right?
I don't think it was a money thing. Sorry, I was thinking about second base for the Angels. They don't really have a second baseman every day.
Luis Rengifo,
I don't think
kind of.
Yeah, but like
He's more of a
if TA
utility.
was
Yeah.
good, Rengifo was easily displaceable. I think he was looking for an everyday shortstop opportunity, and this was the closest thing he had to an everyday shortstop opportunity. You're telling me that the Dodgers wouldn't throw 5 mil at him to be the shortstop against left-handed pitching, and the shortstop against right-handed pitching is Gavin Lux.
They didn't.
They didn't, but like they could
yeah,
have.
it sounds like they should have, but they didn't, right? I think there's a reason that they didn't, right? If you go on the Baseball Savant, it's the bluest thing I've ever seen in my entire life, right? If you're watching him last year, you saw a disaster, right? It wasn't like the numbers were lying to you. It was a disaster, right? And now the Marlins have the same defensive left side of the infield as the White Sox did with Jake Berger and Tim Anderson. We saw how that went, right? So my final question before we move on to the next topic. You should have seen the DMs and the tags and comment sections about my Miami Marlins bet, the under 78.5. And they said, "Oh, Peter, are you nervous now? Or should we wait? Is the line going to move?" Newsflash, the line has not moved. And number two, coming from your end, Tim Anderson is your favorite player in Major League Baseball, which I respect. Because when TA's on, TA is awesome. I'm not trying to disrespect him. I'm just trying to put it into, what it is, right? So I'm curious,
No, he shouldn't move the line by 4 wins? Is that your question?
Do you think he should move the line by a win?
No, I don't think so. This is such a what have you done for me lately game. And what has Tim Anderson done for the greater good of baseball lately? He's been the worst player in baseball.
He has 7 home runs in 2 years. And I know he's not a home run guy, but he has
one last year. That's the thing. 6 of them were in 2022. He was the worst player in baseball last year. And in a what have you done for me lately game, he has been the worst player in baseball lately. So he shouldn't move the line. There's a chance he stinks. And there's a chance this is a sunk cost. I saw a lot of the Gene Segura comps on Twitter. And frankly, those are okay because Segura and TA's previous 2 years coming into their Marlins deal are pretty similar. You have to be okay with this sucking.
Yeah, and Segura didn't last the entire season.
That's the thing. So TA could not last the entire season, but they're buying the idea that he can regain some of 2019 through 2021.
I love Optimistic Jack right now. I mean, this is great.
He's like the one guy I'm optimistic for.
No, I mean, I think it is good for the Marlins because John Birdie, right, going into last season had played 46 professional games at shortstop, right? He played, I think, around 60 last year. He was playing all over the diamond. John Birdie is a fine player, right? But you're asking a 35-year-old career utility man to man shortstop for the entirety of the season.
Can't do it.
So now you have Birdie and Tim Anderson. Now, is that combo going to be great? Probably not. But can it get you through a season? Yeah. Overall, though, they paid 1 year, $5 million. Yes. If they paid 1 year, $5 million for Tim Anderson, they'll be fine regardless if it works or doesn't work. I think that's the main point here. Like, it's not a deal that kills them if he performs badly. And if he performs really well, who knows? Maybe the rest of the team isn't performing and you could trade him at the deadline. There's a lot of different scenarios that this could take hold of.
And what I will say is he is a high-risk signing because of the at-bats that he will be taking. He is not a high-risk signing because of the money. And Miami not being willing to spend, like, whatever, don't care. $5 million is not going to hamper anybody. Anybody. No. Any owner in baseball. All 30 teams can take a 1 year, $5 million flyer on a shortstop. So when you see high risk, high reward on social media, it should be referring to the plate appearances, to the at-bats. It should not be referring to the financials. Financially, this is a low risk, very high reward contract. In terms of playing time, this is a very high risk, very high reward contract.
Very high reward. I've heard it twice. I'm down. Let's see what happens.
He was a 4.5 win player 2 years ago. It's not like he's broken. He might be broken, but like, we don't know.
You might have just paid $5 million for 4.5 WAR, Miami Marlins fans. That's what Jack says. And I'm in it.
And a reminder, I come at this with so much bias, it's unbelievable. This is the one time you will experience insane bias from me.
Your Derek Jeter, in relation to me, my favorite player, just signed a 1 year, $5 million deal with the Miami Marlins, and we're trying to spin it.
Mark Burley is my Derek Jeter. Like, let's get that out of the way. Like, it's Burley and then 50 pounds of shit and then like Tim Anderson and the rest. Sammy Sosa is also up there with Burley, I will
Aaron
say.
Aaron Judge basically just signed a 1 year, $5 million deal with the Marlins.
For me, in my world, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani had a baby, and he signed a 1 year, $5 million deal with the Miami Marlins.
Listeners of the Just Baseball show, pour one out for Jack's World and the White Sox fans that listen. Pour one out. And I saw a YouTube comment. I saw a YouTube comment on our last episode. It was like a White Sox fan. He's like, I'm also just nodding along. And then there was a teardrop like emoji. I feel bad for you guys. I mean, like,
Yeah, but I think there are way more White Sox fans than you would even ever care to admit that still love TA and are still rooting so
as they
freaking hard
should.
for TA.
I still like
As they
TA.
should.
I still like
Yeah.
TA. I'm not a White Sox fan. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think it's
So,
time to move
listen,
on,
yeah, 100%. It may not work, but I'm rooting so freaking hard for him. Mitch Keller is another guy that is very easy to root for. By all accounts, he is an awesome dude. He's worked really hard. He has reinvented himself several times over the course of his career. And we saw the tread videos where he was sitting 101. That's not Mitch Keller anymore. Mitch Keller is sinker slider, throw 200 innings. He's not going to punch out 12 per nine. But you know what? He's going to log a complete game shutout at some point. Like that's what he did last year. He was an all-star. Did he have blow-up starts? Absolutely. But Mitch Keller was just compensated appropriately for being back-to-back opening day starters for the Pittsburgh Pirates. 5-year, $77 million extension. In the last 2 years, they have handed out extensions to Ke'Bryan Hayes, Brian Reynolds, and Mitch Keller. If I'm not mistaken, those are three of, if not the three largest contracts in Pittsburgh Pirates history.
Yep.
There was an article in The Athletic 2 days ago that we'll get into next week. We'll get into the intricacies of all that, that really didn't break any new information about the Pittsburgh Pirates. It's all been reported locally about like certain funds going to one place instead of the other. All that shit has been reported on. Like Jason Mackey and the rest of that beat. Rob Beertemple was great at The Athletic before they unfortunately let him go. All of this has been reported. Ken Rosenthal and Steven Nesbitt just like consolidated all of it and spit it out to the national media. Call the Pirates cheap all you want. Nobody's going to argue with you. They are very frugal. What they've done is they've ID'd three guys that they want as their pillars for the foreseeable future, and they have compensated them. Key might have been underpaid, but Reynolds and Mitch Keller, it feels like have been compensated appropriately.
I agree. I saw 5 years, $77 million for Mitch Keller, and I thought to myself, that's pretty cheap, right? For a guy who I think for the next 5 years, you can kind of say, I'm going to get 175 in terms of innings, and I'm going to get a 4 ERA with close to 200 strikeouts. That's valuable in this day and age. How many? Think to yourself right now. How many guys can you name like that, right? And you could say, well, Mitch Keller doesn't deserve to be in that range, right? But in 2022, he's coming off about 159 innings at a 3.91, and in 2023, 194 innings at a 4.21, right? So back-to-back seasons, he's been at the 160 or higher threshold, right? Or around there. That's valuable. And unless, he doesn't come into the season with any injury concerns, right? He's a big body. He is 6'3", 220 pounds, starting pitching profile, to a T, exactly what you want. He's developed that slider. He's got so many different pitches that he can go to. He's not one of these fastball slider guys who's just trying to throw 100 miles an hour, like you said, fastball, sinker, cutter, sweeper. He's got it all. This is a guy who Pirates fans should be happy to build around, right? Brian Reynolds and Brian Hayes as well. The reason I give the Pirates shit is they're not investing in their team outside of these guys. But at the same time, if I'm going to give them shit for not doing that, I have to give them credit for paying their guys, right? There are plenty of teams right now in Major League Baseball who have players of this caliber on teams that are in a similar financial situation to the Pirates who have chosen not to go this route. So I think Pirates fans, if I'm a Pirates fan sitting here today, I'm not over the moon, but I am intrigued by the direction of this franchise. Now, who knows? Maybe they This is the season of locking down their guys. They want to see what they have with O'Neal Cruz. They want to see what they have with Paul Skeens, and I assume it's going to be great. Maybe then those two are the next to sign extensions. And then once you have your core, once you know your payroll, then you could be more strategic. That might be the plan here. And then a couple more years of drafting well, right? Because the Pirates have done a pretty damn good job of that. Then you get Endy Rodriguez the year after, right? So you see it forming. It's just slower than what I want it to be because I believe in the Pirates' direction. That's my main point. However, this signing did give me some relief about the Pirates moving forward.
Yeah, I'm going to run you through their 5-year plan. I'll say 3 years from now. Let's play that game. Okay. Opening day of 2026. All right. 24, 25. Yeah. Opening day 2026. Let's play that game. Maybe 2027. But in
maybe
that
2028. Maybe 2029. We might get to 2030.
Let's call it September 1st, 2026.
Do you think
because I want to factor in some of the young guys too. I do want to factor in some of the complex people.
Do you think that we're even going to get to corner outfielders?
Yeah, I think so.
No, I'm down. I'm down with this. I am because I want to see what your thinking is. I mean, you are the Pirates guy.
So your catching tandem, if you have Henry Davis catch it all, he will likely be your
probably not
backup.
Right. I think he's
probably not. Okay. Let's factor him into right field.
Cool.
Endy Rodriguez is your catcher. Okay.
Love it.
First base, whoever you want there, you could call it Jared Triolo for the sake of the exercise.
Could be Henry Davis.
Could be Henry Davis. I'm factoring Henry Davis into the outfield.
Okay.
The outfield looks like probably Henry Davis. I mean Jack Sawinski, Brian Reynolds. Okay.
Do you not like Jack Sawinski? I was assuming I would pencil in Sawinski over like Henry Davis right now. The dude hits jacks.
Yeah, he strikes out a lot. But he hits jacks and he plays decent defense. So let's call it Reynolds in left, Sawinski in center, and Henry Davis in right. Keep Brian Hayes at third, O'Neal Cruz at short. Call it Termarr Johnson at second base. All right.
That. I'm in right now.
And then starting rotation, you're looking at Keller, you're looking at Skeens, you're looking at Jared Jones, Quinn Priester. Apparently, Rowanzi looks good again, which is very exciting.
No, but look at you getting stuff from spring training.
But yeah, you're right. But how about a Bubba Chandler or an Anthony Solomito? And then Bednar, you have to assume they extend that guy too. And they've found some gems in the bullpen. A Kyle Necklace, a Carmen Majinski, a Colin Holderman. Dowry Moretta looks good for them. Like, they have something fun going on, and they've ID'd the 3 veteran leaders of that team that is loaded with pre-arb guys that are showing promise. And they've said, hey, you're a part of whatever this rebuild results in. Key, you're a Pirate. Brian Reynolds, you're a Pirate. Mitch Keller, you're a Pirate. And I think they should do the same with Bednar.
Probably. I wonder what deal you'd give Bednar. Would you give him a 4-year deal?
He's got, I think, 3 years of control left.
Yeah, true. You'd probably buy him out of ARB.
I think he's from there. He might just get a 6-year deal and take a discount.
He might.
6-year deal for a closer. Why not? Okay. Real quick before we get to corner outfield, Gio Urshela, 1 year, 1.5. This can be lightning quick. The Tigers just got their primary third baseman. It seems they were going to run out some assortment of McKinstry and Veerling. Urshela is a better option than McKinstry or Veerling.
Yeah, before we press the record button, we were going to talk about Kodai Senga, Tim Anderson, and Mitch Keller. And I just wanted to kind of scoot Gio Urshela in because we've been talking about the Tigers for a lot of this offseason and why I'm excited for them moving forward this year. And, we mocked Isaac Paredes to them. Obviously, that was never going to actually come to fruition because I think there was some locker room problems there when the last time Paredes left Detroit, or that's all I heard from Detroit Tigers fans whenever we would mock them. I looked it up. It didn't seem as heavy as they were making it out to be, but there's obviously just something there. And then on top of it, do they really want to trade for a guy like that? Do they want to leverage prospects in order to get Isaac Paredes? Could they sign Matt Chapman? I was just trying to figure out what third base was going to look like because I like Veerling when he's playing a bunch of different positions. I like Zach McKinstry when he's playing a bunch of different positions. I wanted them to have a legit third base option. Is Gio Urshela that legit third base option? Not really. Would I rather have Gio Urshela or Tim Anderson? One's been better than the other. and one is getting paid 1.5 million compared to another one's getting paid 5 million. So
Yeah,
I
but
thought it was a
one
very
can't.
cheap deal to just get a relatively solid third baseman, right? If Gio Urshela is in your lineup hitting eighth, playing third, you're fine with it.
The other thing is Tim was never going to play third, right?
No, no.
TA is shortstop, second base. Like he's really just a shortstop. If he signed with the Angels, he was going to sign as a second baseman. Good point. But like, man, Urshela is a third baseman that can get by. Stop, and that's an important thing for Detroit too. If Javi Baez disappears and Hinch needs to, like do the thing he did last year, where it's like, Javi, dude, like you have to know how many outs there are, and instead of the rest of the game and the day after sitting him, he's like, you know what, I can't do this for a week. Urshela can play shortstop,
Yes, he can, which is a good sign. Should we
so
talk about
being able to play third at a somewhat high level and like the availability at shortstop is a better thing for the Tigers than like anything Tim Anderson would have given them.
agreed? And it was a rounding error of a contract. 1.1.5 million. I mean, that's nothing to these teams.
Correct.
Kodai
Kodai Senga.
Senga. Kodai Senga. Oh,
Fatigue.
wait, can I say something first? So I go to Citi Field almost more than I go to Yankee Stadium because a lot of my friends in New York are Mets fans, so they'll have tickets, right? Obviously I go to both stadiums a ton, but I went to Citi Field more this year than I did last year. I know the pain. This is the third year in a row where the Mets ace has had health issues going into the season. And you look at the current Mets rotation and you think to yourself, God damn it. This team has a payroll over $300 million. And they're running out right now because Kodai Senga with shoulder fatigue is going to start the year on the IL. Jose Quintana is the number one. Tylor McGill, Luis Severino. This is the $300 million team. Now, you still have great players on offense. Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, the arrival of Francisco Alvarez. I think the offense is going to be fine. But if you are a Mets fan right now, knowing that Steve Cohen promised a championship in 5 years, and I know they retooled, right, over the deadline, trading Verlander, trading Scherzer, getting that farm system to look a little bit better so they can be more agile in the market. However, this 2024 Mets team without Kodai Senga could be a disaster. It could be a disaster. And I feel for my Mets fans. I feel for you guys. This is torture. I mean, I hate to smile, but like this is legitimate arson. It's like someone's burning down your house room by room. And it's like, I just spent $300 million on this house. Now the bathroom has a break. My car just broke down. And the rest of the neighborhood, they're all $200 million houses with great looking cars and great bathrooms. Yours is on fire.
For now.
For now.
Yeah, but like it's February. You shouldn't be on fire.
It should be on fire.
As of right now, roster resource says Quintana, Luis Severino, Sean Manaea, Adrian Hauser, Tyler McGill. Hauser looks like a big pickup right now.
Huge. Adrian Hauser, huge.
Man,
oh, no.
And like
oh, no.
swingman, all you want. 93
oh no,
think all you want. Sevy is so big this year. I mean, if Sevy is not good and if Sevy is unavailable, this can turn into a worse year than 2023 very quickly.
Wait, Dave Stearns just texted me, yo, we need you in the 5 spot. What does that mean?
Vassell and Christian Scott are guys that we've talked about on the call up, and Arm brought them up on the last Just Baseball show on the mailbag. They're going to get a chance early this year. Senga, I did see a quote from Senga earlier. He said, quote, at this point, I'm not going to be able to perform at the highest level, so giving it a little bit of time is the right move. It clearly doesn't sound serious. There's been an MRI, and he wasn't sounding the alarms like that even after the MRI. So you have to assume that Senga is back. But if he misses a month, can you get through that month? The Mets have zero interest in winning the NL East this year. I think that's already become clear. If they were in that position to be like, oh, great.
they're above the tax threshold. So basically every move they make, they're paying 40 cents more on the dollar, right? Like every
Yeah.
deal they spend is basically like 150%, right? So if you sign for 10
Yeah.
million, it's like you're spending another five.
But based on the rhetoric from Steve Cohen, based on the rhetoric from David Stearns, do you think they view themselves as World Series contenders this year?
No, they already said that this was a bridge year.
Assessment year.
Sure.
Yeah, bridge year,
What are you
assessment
assessing
year.
right now? Are you
Sevy
assessing? You're assessing Brett Beatty. You're assessing Mark
Yes.
Vientos. If this is a bridge
Is
year, I need
Alvarez
more to
take a jump?
assess. Of course, he's your starting catcher for the future. I mean, that's already been decided. What are you assessing
How
here?
about
Assessing if Pete Alonso is good?
Vassell, Scott, Drew Gilbert, if he seems
These aren't
ready
like,
enough,
are these
Acuna?
legit arms? I mean, these are
We'll
also like,
see.
yeah, we'll see.
We'll see, right? You need to
I
assess them to decide if they're legit arms or not.
I seem like such a dickhead. I'm a Yankee fan in a Phillies hat, ripping on the Mets.
Yeah, welcome to the assessment year. What the
I'm
hell?
sorry. I am sorry, Mets fans. You do not deserve this. This is cruel. This is the Lord above being like, you'll never be happy, unfortunately. And I want you to be happy, but I just don't think the stars are aligned for the Mets. They could be,
Yeah,
but this is a
unfortunately not.
disaster. This is a disaster.
Love it. We are going to get into corner outfield in a moment, but we do have to tell you about an appearance that Aram will actually be making in the beginning of March. eBay is teaming up with Onyx to put on a spring training kickoff live stream event in Phoenix on March 2nd and 3rd at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Aram will be there. It's going to be an insane event. You got exclusive one-of-one cards auctioned off on eBay Live and future MLB studs like Jackson Chorio, Matt Shaw, Dalton Rushing, Drew Thorpe of the Padres now, and more will be on the eBay Live. So be sure to tune in. Again, March 2nd and 3rd at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Lucky buyers of the exclusive one-of-one cards that will be auctioned off get a custom inscription from the player, which makes it truly a one-of-a-kind collectible. Portion of all proceeds will be donated to the Organization of Autism Research, which provides research to better the quality of life for people with autism. Check out the link in our bio and check the Just Baseball socials a little bit later on, especially next week, for more information. We would love to see you there in Phoenix, March 2nd and 3rd on behalf of eBay.